Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 16 of That Moment Heart-to-Heart Talk with Dr. Victoria Grinman. And I'm so excited to be here today. I am speaking with Susan Burdick, who, Susan, you and I were introduced by someone who has become so dear to me. And you are now actually even working with some of the closer people in my life, and just incredible for you to be here. So thank you for being here. And this episode is called Change Your Life in Ways You Didn't Think Possible. And Susan, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so fun to be with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. And for everyone out there who doesn't know who you are, can you just share a little bit about who you are, what you do in this world, and how you contribute?
Well, I actually, after a long, hard process, I discovered, developed, and I teach a therapy technique that I discovered for disease, disorders, and dysfunctions on the physical, mental, and emotional levels that actually work with your neurological system, that send information to your brain, that different parts of your brain that decide what's going on with your body and how they can chemically solve the problem. It sends down the chemicals, and according to what your brain decides your body needs, it releases blockages, impingements, opens up your body, brings more blood, oxygen, nutrients, opens your meridians, and helps your lymphatic system so that your entire body functions more efficiently. And you do this all over your body so your entire brain body has a better connection and more function.
Okay, so you just said a whole lot. And so in layman's terms, you put people back together. Or I work a lot with trauma. So that was what was there for myself. So let me just lower. So I work a lot with trauma, and what popped for me was that there are so many times when things have happened to us, whether physically, emotionally, metaphysically, and it causes this disintegration. And so what you do is kind of put it all back together so it works. Is that right? Did I get it right?
Yes, I basically, a lot of your body is, there's all these impingements, adhesions, traumas, all these things that happen to your body. And we know that what we think, how we feel, our emotions affect our physical body chemically. So what I'm doing is I'm opening up your body. And when I open up your body, release all the connective tissue fascia in its matrix, which as we get older, everything just gets tighter. When I open everything up, chemically, by just having, I have a language that I use that speaks to the brain, and it's light touch. So when all of this, what I just mentioned, all this happens and it opens, whatever chemical composition was held in your body, then it's released. So I worked a lot with sexual assault and abuse, and they would speak with the therapists, and they would have these conversations. And then I worked with several agencies, and then they would send me clients. And what happens is the physical body, that original emotion of whatever was going on or whatever they experienced in their life, they release that chemical composition that's held in the connective tissue and the cells as the trauma as they're experiencing the trauma. So it's like a coin. You have the point where you speak with people, and that is like way beyond. I don't know any of your techniques. I know they're amazing and they work and they're incredible, but then there's the physical body itself that holds the trauma. So by opening everything up and releasing, not only are you going to have more mobility, but you're also going to, a lot of my clients will have these emotional releases while on the table. So so next time I'm going to say maybe a sexual assault with a teenager, date rape, and maybe he touched her shoulder. And so every time anything touched her shoulder or she felt her clothing moving on her shoulder, she would have all these flashbacks. So by releasing the trauma in her shoulder, then anyone else who touched her shoulder or her clothing would not set off that alarm again in her body, which is wonderful. So it's the other side of the coin. It's the physical aspect.
I love that so much. And, in working with trauma, there is a lot of work that we do as trauma therapists, especially those that work with the sensory motor aspect, the releasing of the body. And, even thinking about Bessel van der Kolk, he says the body keeps the score, right? The trauma actually, especially if things happen pre-verbally. I'm thinking about traumas that happen to us physically that happen before our ability to verbalize as very young children. So yes, I completely concur. So many things are stored in the body, but you're talking about something very different than what I do. You're talking about something very special. And I really would love for you to share a little bit about that and how you developed this technique, because your story is absolutely, incredible. And it's one of those, when I heard it first, I thought, it's an example of when something happens to you in your life and it just guides you to what you should be doing. And I thought that was something really to be shared. So tell us a little bit about that. What happened to you in your life?
Well, I always say I faced death and I came back on a mission. And the reason was I was gluten intolerant my entire life, way back when I was a child. And of course, no one knew anything about that at that time. And so what I did was I ate anything I wanted to. And so I ate a lot of pasta and bread, my favorite things in the whole world. But the problem was, what I didn't know is when you're always sick, you don't know what well is. You don't know how it really feels to be great. So I never realized the entire time I was growing up that I wasn't living to the level I should have been, and never knew why my stomach bothered me. And, my hair was always thin and all the problems I had. Until finally my allergist said, "You're gluten intolerant, so I don't want you to eat bread." So I followed his instructions. I had shots. I didn't eat bread until finally I became really ill. And I went to the doctor and he said, "I think there's something wrong with your stomach." And he was a specialist. And so they decided that I needed to have an operation and they would fix my stomach. So I went in for the operation, and it was very grueling. I was 7 days I didn't eat quite a lot of food before that, but I was 7 days in the hospital. They completely removed all the fascia, connective tissue off my stomach, which we know is huge. That's how your body communicates with itself. And so I survived that operation. I ate baby food for probably about 4 months, a spoonful at a time. And a year and a half later, that operation failed, and I had to go back in to have the second surgery. So I decided I wasn't going to use that same doctor again, who was supposed to be the world's best doctor for that particular operation. And so I went to someone else. That operation lasted probably about 6 months, 6 years rather. And I was back in the same situation. And once again, everyone kept pointing to this doctor in Boston and said, "He's the best. There is no one better." So I went in, and with tail between his legs, he said, "Every single operation that we did like that failed. And so we have a new way of doing it." But I had 5 surgeons tell me that I have a 1 in 100% chance of ever getting off the operating room table. And 80% of everyone who does get off the operating room table has serious problems the rest of their life, because they hit the 10th cranial nerve, which actually prevents all your organs from communicating and functioning together. So I went into this operation knowing that I may never see my children again. So as I laid there on the operating table, I said a prayer. I said, I was so sick and I've been through so much. And I said, "God, if you want me to die, I accept that. If you want me to live, I will help people the rest of my life." Having no idea what I said, I was out. I woke up from surgery. My doctor's bouncing on his hands. He's in feet. He's just so happy. He's like, "This is one surgery ever." And I recovered from that. And I had absolutely no problems. My stomach was 100% working correctly. I realized then that I was gluten intolerant and that just don't eat this. And so then I had to start a whole process of repairing all the damage that was done to my body throughout my lifetime. I never realized when you say something, it matters. Every single word that comes out of your mouth. There is a force out there, whatever you want to call it, God, a force, spirits, angels, whatever you want to call it, it's up to you. But when you say something and you declare something, I will help people the rest of my life, it means something. And it's amazing because 4 years later, I discovered Restore for Life.
Wow.
And I've been helping people ever since.
That's incredible. Wow. And can you share a little bit more about your technique and how you support people through it? Because it's, again, very different.
It is, because it's an original. That was really a wild process anyway. I was a Polarity educator, and I taught in several colleges. I moved south for 4 years and studied nothing but different types of natural health. What it was doing, it's like acupuncture, but without needles and using light touch. And that's what sends the information to the different parts of your brain. And so what I did one day, I didn't realize I was really going to have to do something to fulfill the promise that I made. So what I did one day is I was living in the South for 4 years, and I came back to New England, and I said, one of my clients said, "Oh my gosh, I heard you were back in New England." And she gave me a whole laundry list of different things that were wrong with her. And she said, I couldn't wait for you to get here. I was going to go to North Carolina to find you if I had to.
Wow.
So I started working on her. And because I studied so much, I love education because what it does is opens up your mind. And you learn a bunch of things and a lot of facts. Like I studied lymphatic drainage on the cellular level. So you learn all of these different types of things. But this particular day, I said, I'm just going to use my intuitive abilities. I just happen to be a medical intuitive along with some other things. And I just said, I really have to follow my instincts. And so I started working on my client, and she ended up saying this was the most amazing session she ever had. And so from then on in, we worked every 3 weeks for 4 hours a session. And I started documenting. I started what I experienced during the session. She would come out and tell me what she experienced during the session. And then I united the two processes together. And so after over a year's time, I actually was capable at that point of writing a workshop because after everything I went through, I believed every single human being alive should be able to take care of themselves easily, effortlessly, safely, without breaking your budget. So what I'm doing is like I initially said, is I'm using your own body's natural intelligence and wisdom that I don't care what your label is. I don't care who you are. We still, I don't believe, have hit the tip of the iceberg of how incredible our bodies actually are and all the things that can actually be done. I know I've worked with low functioning autistic children straight out of Boston's Children's Hospital, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, no eye contact, labeled low functioning autism. And in 8 sessions, I watched them bloom. The mother brought me into this, brought me in silently. She didn't tell any of the doctors, therapists, or anything that I was on board. She wanted to see what I could do. So what I did, by the first session, right out of Children's Hospital, they said the whole back of his head was neurologically misfiring and during all his tests. So that's the first place I worked. And so by the end of the first session, she said we could see facial expression, which he didn't have any facial expression whatsoever. By the second session, he was formulating words, he had eye contact, and he was starting to walk independently. By the third session, he had full eye contact, he was speaking in sentences, and he was walking independently. So all the therapists, doctors, everything said, "Oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. We're blowing through our therapies." And that's when she started passing out my card to everyone. But basically what I'm doing is I'm reconnecting all your neurological system, all of your systems, so your entire body functions more efficiently. Your body is communicating with itself. You're getting everything you need to thrive, more blood, oxygen, nutrients. So what I'm doing is everything that is preventing you from disconnecting, I'm reconnecting, especially that body function.
Susan, so I think it's crazy how cool that is. And what does the session look like? Like, for example, with this child, you said it's not talk, so it's not talk therapy. I know that you said something about light touch, but can you share a little bit about what that looks like when you're working with someone? What would a typical session be?
What it would look like is I'm doing light touch on an area. Say I'm on your knee. I'm going to pretend my fist is your knee. I'm doing light touch in a certain pattern. I discovered through this whole process for over a year, different patterns. I used to follow acupuncture lines. Now I'm not following acupuncture lines with light touch, because it's like acupuncture without needles, but I'm not doing just that. I'm not actually doing those, what I learned before. Everything I ever learned, spent a fortune on, I threw out the window. What I did when I really brought in all my intuitive abilities was I just followed what the body wanted me to do. So when I'm doing the light touch, I'm sending, someone would lie there fully dressed. I would start by blending all of their bodies and bring them back to neutral. Your belly button, that's actually where the cells divide. That's where all the veins are all from. When you were connected to your mother, that's where all the veins meet. So I bring all of your body back to where you were when you were conceived. And so then I start from there, and I'll just do light touch, sending the information to the brain. Usually I start at the feet and then work up the legs, the arms, the trunk, and then a lot of head work. Because as you know, this is Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
We need to open this up. We need to get all this communication happening. And the interesting part was everything for a reason. So there isn't one thing that ever happened in your life. It's like a thread. It starts as for me, it was a child who was gluten intolerant. And all of these threads, all these things, even though you think they're totally irrelevant, all of these things in your life all make a story until the day you discover they do make a story. And so.
Was that what it was like for you?
I don't know why I'm making this noise. Yeah. And so everything I ever did, every different thing I tried, everything that I did led up to where I was now.
Wow.
So by doing this all over the body, again, we're sending all the information to the brain, fully dressed. I'm kicking in your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system that allows you to relax, to let go. Most people are in there just before they drop into Delta. That's that second when you first wake up in the morning and you realize.
I really want to hit snooze.
Huh?
I really want to hit snooze when you wake up in the morning. That moment.
But it's that second before you even open your eyes and you wake up. So they hear me no matter if I walked around the table or whatever, they would hear me, but yet they would also, they wouldn't be able to move because they're just so relaxed.
Wow.
So that's when you actually heal. That's when you let go. That's actually when you're the most psychic and you're the most aware of what's going on around you. It was really hysterical. I am very balanced.
For a minute, I actually want to go back to what you just said, because you're dropping nuggets of gold. And I want to go back. You said when we're most calm, when we're in our when the parasympathetic nervous system is the more dominant, that is when we heal.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean for everyone who, meditation and extra, like if somebody's in a, multitasking and really productive and getting a lot of stuff done and they've got a lot going on and they're not really in their parasympathetic, right? Is that not set up for healing and for growth as much as it would be if that person was more centered and calmer? Like, can you share a little bit about that?
You actually destroy your body if you don't get it's called sleep hygiene. If you don't get an 8 hours sleep, that's when your body detoxes. That's when the CSF flushes your brain, releases the toxins. That's how we store memories. You know, all this stuff. And but what happens is when you're, first of all, when you're in fight or flight, when you're busy all day and you're not paying attention and you're afraid or you're anxious about something, your whole frontal lobe shuts down.
That's right.
So you don't even remember your own name. So that makes it extremely difficult to function. And it's the big thing is all the negative chemicals you're bringing into your body, cortisol, adrenaline, you know. And so cortisol is actually an anti-inflammatory, but when when it's on and doesn't shut off, it becomes an inflammatory. So that I can't even tell you how many times, I'm going to use breast cancer as an example. How many women have had this negative experience, some trauma in their life? Their husband, they discovered that their husband had a girlfriend and decided, I want to buy you out of this house we just built, and I'm taking my girlfriend on a cruise. I had this happen with one client, and she just had her mammogram 4 months prior. But here she is in her 60s and thinking she just built her retirement home and everything was great. And she always wanted to go on this vacation. And all of a sudden her husband drops the cruise tickets on the table as she's making dinner and announces, she's like, oh, I'm going on a cruise. Finally, I always wanted to do this. And then he announces, no, I'm not going on a cruise with you. I'm taking my girlfriend and I want to buy you out. So when people have these type of traumas, what happens is I can't even tell you how many times I have seen this with my own eyes, is she developed breast cancer. And it's this trauma and stuff. So if you can get out of the trauma, if you can get out of the fight or flight, if you can relax and your body can heal itself, you actually are preventing disease.
I love it. Susan, incredible insights. We have a couple of questions because you seem to be really expert on that. And I'm a neuro nerd and I love it as well. So the question is from somebody, not sure if this has been addressed, but the topic of the impact of reaching for the phone early in the morning. From a light perspective, does that have impact on using media early in the morning with regard to theta, delta, et cetera? Like what's the impact on the brain? And I guess the other question pertains to dopamine hits and the impact of engaging in your phone early on. Like what would you say to people in terms of the self-care aspect of it? Because we were actually talking about this in our early morning 5 a.m. wake up group. And so what's your perspective on that?
Well, what happens is with sleep hygiene, there's all the things that you should do or shouldn't do to be able to get a good night's sleep. And it's imperative that you do, as we just discussed. So one of the things is your computer, your phone, the TV, the blue light. That prevents you from being able to get the chemicals you need to go to sleep. And different things like you shouldn't watch a trauma on TV because that gets you emotionally going. And then you're going to be thinking about that. You shouldn't sit at your desk and work all night because you want to get that last little bit done, because what happens is your brain's just going to keep going. So what you have to do is usually don't eat anything spicy or heavy before you go to bed. You turn down the lights, you make it dark. So you start building the melatonin. And that's what you want to do. And you want to calm your brain down. So you listen to something, you watch TV, something nice, you read a book, you kind of calm your body and let that melatonin come in, because it takes about an hour before you go to sleep. And then what happens is you're going to bed with a peaceful mind, you're relaxed, you're doing all the things that prevent you from sleeping. And you even, I still have a clock in my bedroom, but they say I turn it backwards so I don't see the light, but the darker the better, because you really want that melatonin to I don't know why my is acting up today. You want the melatonin to really kick in so you can go to sleep. So if you're traumatized, if you've gone through an experience, you're having a rough time. I know that I've worked with a lot of people in my Wednesday night group sessions because for the simple fact of COVID going at this point. And they have jobs, they're working from home, but just the news and everything around and not having the abilities to act like we did over a year ago has caused tremendous stress. So especially when I'm working with my kids with autism, they sometimes, they know those kids are amazing, and I love working with them, and I do specialize with children, but they feel, they energetically feel all of the emotions going on in the family, and they understand. They just can't verbalize it, which is another topic, but they can't verbalize it. So everybody, regardless if your life really didn't change, all of the stress and trauma people have been experiencing, they need an outlet, because you will not sleep, and you can only go so long before you're really damaging your health.
And then what do you say when people are waking up? We're starting. So last night, interestingly, I went to sleep. I chose to. I spoke with my boyfriend, and I read a book to celebrate a really great day. So I gave myself 10 pages of a book, and then I decided that I was going to listen to a meditation that I love. I listened to this one Yoga Nidra meditation on Insight Timer, and it just has me go to bed. I don't know what it says. It might be putting some things into my brain. I have no idea, because within 3 minutes of this person speaking, I'm out. And I wake up in the morning after this meditation feeling lighter. I mean, today was a much easier day to wake up. And so what would you say to people that are really trying to be more intentional and mindful about their morning hygiene when it comes to what they input, the nutritional input, right? From all of the media and talking to people? Like, what would you suggest we do or not do in the morning?
Well, first of all, I'm a meditator. The more you meditate, the more abilities you have, the clearer your mind, the calmer you are, the more you can handle different things that are going on during the day. It also changes the construction of your brain. It also gives you don't react to things. Everybody gets the dopamine hit. The big problem is with social media and our phones is it's like you have one piece of cake or you have one piece of chocolate, and you're like, okay, this is good. I'm enjoying this piece of chocolate. And then it turns into 2 pieces of chocolate and 3 pieces of chocolate and 4 pieces of chocolate. And what happens is that the dopamine. So the one piece of chocolate gave you the dopamine hit. Oh, yes. It's just like picking up your phone. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at this. And then you become comfortable with that. So then that doesn't work anymore. So we need more. And so we just keep building off that. And it's absolutely, you can reverse that by undoing what you've done. So make it a habit. Do not pick up the phone first thing in the morning, because first of all, you're derailing whatever you're supposed to be doing. So instead of meditating in the morning, which I find I either do it at night I usually do it twice a day, but at night, what happens is if you sit there and you quietly sit in your chair and you do a meditation, I teach this in my workshop while I'm teaching Restore, but when you're following your breath in, you're bringing in love, and then you release, and then the next breath you're bringing in, you're breathing in love, and then you release, and it calms you down, and that allows you to go to sleep. In the morning, what I do, instead of picking up my phone, as I do the same thing, I just sit there. Now, we know in the morning we don't all wake up like, yay, let's start running. I don't. I really should be out there walking, but I don't. And so for that first, even if it's 20 minutes that you sit there in a nice, comfortable chair with a nice blanket on you, because it's cold in New England right now, and you're just quiet. You can sit there, you can keep your eyes open, but just observe the room. You don't have to sit there with your eyes closed. You just sit there and relax and just fixate on something, fixate on a picture or something, and be very present with it. That that stops that dopamine hit. You know what I mean? You're not waking up in the morning and you're feeding your brain and getting that hit that is just going to keep accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just a few things that you can do to really relax. Now, what I do if I was speaking with you and I was doing a meditation with you, which I think everybody should do, is I would talk like this.
It's like the FM voice.
Now we're going to talk. It's going to be soft.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be gentle, non-jarring, and bring you right into peace. And that is what you can do to just calm people down.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of other tricks that I do, even simple things like I tell my people with anxiety, all you have to do is cross your feet. Like I'll have them laying on my table, and I've had some people come in and they have such like incredible, because not only do I work with the disease, disorders, dysfunction, autism, cancer, and all sorts of things, neuropathy, and a whole multitude of things, but I find most people have anxiety or depression or OCD. And so what happens is I had one gentleman and he came in and he's talking very peacefully, but he's zipping and unzipping his jacket so fast that I really had to just focus on his face, because it was just like this. And he's talking very calmly. And so I said, okay, take off your jacket, take off your shoes, hop on my table. And I said, now I want you to lay there. And he goes, I can't. I said, cross your feet. So he just crossed his ankles and he goes, that's different. I said, stay like that for just 2 minutes and see how you feel. And then I said, okay, uncross your feet. And he started to get anxious again. I'm like, cross your feet. I said, that's all you have to do. You also can cross your arms.
What I love about, what you're talking about from a neuro standpoint, my mind is going neurointegration and there, and all that. But what you're really doing is you're also teaching people, like you said, to be empowered enough to heal themselves. And just that knowledge that we can do that for ourselves is incredible, Susan. I think it's wonderful. And I have a question, because I actually referred you to my mom.
Yeah.
And you've been working with her, and I can't say how, the amazing things that have been said, but but you work with her through the phone. You've never met face to face. And I want to know a little bit, and that's not something that before your experience was what you were doing. So can you share a little bit about your medical intuitive nature, your intuition? Where did that come from, and how do you help people when you're not with them physically?
I actually, I was born this way. I was born extremely intuitive. And I know I don't like labels because I don't want to put myself in a box. And so I've just come out and said, like, for something, I'm a medical intuitive, but I've always been drawn to disease, disorder, and dysfunction. I've always had people just coming to me and asking for advice. Never got invited to parties because I was never a big drinker in high school or anything. So I was very different in that respect, a little more conservative. But what happens is meditation clears your mind. We're all intuitive. We all have all the same capabilities that everyone else has. It's how much effort do you want to put into it? Do you want to meditate, or do you want to pick up your phone? Do you want to stay focused and very present in the moment, or are you so caffeine high that you can't even focus on what you really need to focus on? So it's all choices. It's the choices that you make. But being and like I said, there's quite a few different things that I can do. But I feel that it was always there, and I thought everybody had the same abilities, and we do. Some people just choose not to use it. But what happens is I am drawn to different things, and I teach people how to just be very present, be very focused, so that they can learn how to do this. how I work with your mom, who I absolutely love. She is a peach. And we have conversations on the phone just as friends. We just interact together because we went on to like 2:00 one morning because I am nowhere near where she is with knowing about the neurological system.
You should be making her go to sleep earlier, Susan. Shame on you.
I know.
This is why she's up on WhatsApp, sending, articles. I see now. Okay.
Yeah, so she got on a topic, and so I kept saying, and so why is that working? So it was one geek to the other, and so we had this great conversation that just led into something else and something else and something else, and finally said we have to go to bed. But I'm not actually, so we have these fun conversations together. But actually, when I'm working on someone, I'm not on the phone. So I have a conversation with someone prior to when I work. So what we do is the person lies in their bed or on a sofa, listens to soft music if I'm working on you in the middle of the day. And what happens is that some people say raise your vibration. What I actually do is before I start, I go into a meditation. So I quiet my own mind. I stay very, very focused. And as I said, nobody's special. Everybody can do the same thing, but it takes work. And some people don't want to do the work. So what I do is I do a small meditation. I get very focused. I get very now in the present. And because of the electromagnetic field that we're in, it's all light, sound, energy. You want to, you pick up your phone and you're talking to someone and you're not connected to anything. I want to listen to a radio station. I turn the dial. I can listen to different stations just by getting on a different frequency. All these frequencies are always in the air. Mm. And so what I do is I get very quiet, very still, and then I close my eyes and I picture me doing restore on that person as they're laying in their bed or the sofa or whatever on the floor. And I go through the whole process that I'm doing. But the only thing is that if you're in my office, I actually will see your arm jerk as the fascia and connective release, or I'll see a head jerk. I'll be working on someone's head. I do a lot of head work because it's always very busy. And I'll be doing head work, and then all of a sudden I'll watch the feet jerk or leg jerk, especially when I'm around the temporal bones. I'll see arms jerk. But I don't have that luxury when they're in Holland or they're in India or on the other side of the country. And half of the clients that I worked with a movie star's son who was misdiagnosed and went through chemo treatments that he never needed, and then went through a double brain bypass. Mm. And so, like I said, it was an actor and actress's son, and very famous. They're on TV all the time. And I got there because of someone else I helped walk who was a paraplegic. And so I got in that group in California, even though I'm on the East Coast. And so I went there 3 times, but I can't keep flying every week to California. So what I did was I waited till the child went to sleep and started working on him. So what I'm doing is I'm picturing his little tiny body in front of me, and I start working on him just like he would be in my office. But instead, what I have as a gauge is I see things in metaphors. So I might see, I'm trying to think of something that I would see something if we're progressing and what I'm doing is really helping, like I was working with him, his head buzzed after having the double brain surgery. So his head actually was very painful and he would scream for an entire day because he was in so much pain. And of course, through this process, he had moya, which the veins weren't giving the blood and oxygen to his brain. So he had many strokes at 3 years old. Wow. So what I was doing is I was working, they hired me to get him so he could walk better without falling down. Of course, being paralyzed quite a bit on one side. He had speech problems. So I was working for trauma. I was working for his ability to function better by creating better body function throughout his entire body so that he could walk better. His speech was clearer. We wanted to stop that head buzzing because it was so painful. So as I started work with him, now he's in California, Los Angeles, and I'm in New England. And I just kept working on him, doing the therapy that I do, doing all the different patterns that I actually developed. And unlike anyone else, this is an original therapy. I am bringing this into the world for 9 years now. It's a brand new therapy that I'm the only teacher. And I have nurses and students all over the place that I call practitioners. But I'm doing this therapy with these patterns that I developed. And so what happens is I'm affecting him. I'm in the magnetic field, sending the energy to this child, and I'm picture doing it. So not having the ability to have him in front of me, I see metaphors. So I'm going to give an example as if I'm progressing and things are going well, I'll see a flower. And a flower to me is a gift. So that means we're progressing. Things are going along smoothly. If I see a bunch of flowers, that means we're really progressing. We're getting a lot done. This transformation is happening rapidly. That's only one thing, but I'll see things in metaphors, and then I write them down as I'm working, and I scribble it because I never open my eyes. And then when I'm done working on the client, I make a little note, and then I send it to them. And then we have a time when I call them back, and then I explain what that note means and what progression we've made. This child went from having all of these severe problems, and they commissioned me for a year. I finished it actually on his birthday a year later, and he's on my website. His dad wrote the testimonial, but he had his head buzzing completely stopped.
Wow.
He was walking. He wasn't falling down. His speech was clear. And of course, I'm getting rid of all the trauma. So he was happy. He was joyful, and he acted like a child again. He was playful. He was drawing. He was, I don't know what you guys call it, but it's, he was using drawing and things like that as therapy. Mm-hmm. So he was doing that. He started that, but his parents were absolutely flabbergasted. And then I reached a point where I brought him to such a level that there was no way I could make his body function or his emotional level any better than I had. And so that's when I with tears had to say, you're as far as I can take you, and we accomplished everything we wanted to the highest level possible, but we had to part ways. And so now I call California every now and again and just say hello because I miss them. But yeah, so I would call the mom every week and tell her what I did and send her the notes. And so that's how it works. But so anything can happen in the field. It sounds very strange to people, but if you were ill and I prayed for you, I want you to get better. Say you broke your arm. I want you to heal faster. You're sending love through the field.
You are. And you're absolutely right. And I'm sure if you've spoken with my mom, she shared with you, but the wishes and the feelings and the words and the energy that we send are so powerful. And when someone's on a deathbed, right, and just hearing prognosis versus hearing words of hope make the difference between life and death for a lot of people who are terminal and have certain things going on. What you're talking about is incredible. We have been speaking for such a long time about your amazing work, and I'm wondering, as we're wrapping up, what is one takeaway that you want people to know, to think about when they think about all of the, you said it's a story, and all of these different things that happen are sort of those moments that create that story of your life. And say a little bit more about that and what you'd like people to take away about their challenges in their life.
Nothing is an accident. Everything that happens in your life is for a reason. Mm-hmm. Everything you study, everything you learn, everything you experience takes you to a different place. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're going through first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way up.
Mhm.
And then it reaches the point when you have enough behind you that you've learned all your lessons, that you've had all these experiences, that you now can be compassionate and loving to people. You can help people in ways just by your speech, just by, saying hello to them. They may have been suicidal, and you're just saying hello, and your loving and compassionate thought helps them.
Mm.
So every single thing in your life is for a reason. And I look back at my life and I'm shocked. So what I want you to know, and above anything else I could possibly tell you, is make the impossible possible. Because no matter what your profession is, there's always something better that can happen for you. I have seen kids low functioning and in 8 sessions turn to what they would call no diagnosis for autism. And that's said to be impossible, but it is possible. Everything is possible. But we get stuck in this box that we think, this is it. This is my life. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. And you just have to open up to all the possibilities, because I know, as far as I studied Eastern medicine instead of Western, and we're more into the natural health and what the body can do. And I have seen the impossible happen.
Well,
and
you do the impossible.
I have doctors. I have clients as doctors who can't get, because the medical community studies one thing. I study it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I want you to know, if you're told this is impossible to do, give that as your fuel to make it possible.
That's right.
Because you just need to know that if you limit yourself and stick yourself in a box, you're going nowhere. Know that you can make things that people say, oh, you'll never be able to get over that. No, you'll never be able to give up drugs. Oh, you'll never be able to walk again. I've had Shane's muscular dystrophy get out of his wheelchair and walk for 4 hours at an event they sold me to. Everyone in the room's jaw dropped. They couldn't believe that it happened. Yes, it did. And all of them had witness to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want you to know. The takeaway is, don't give up. Know that you can do anything you set your mind to. Always be positive and move forward regardless of what anyone says to you, if you know you're going in the right direction.
That's beautiful, Susan. One of the things I loved among so many of the others from our talk today is when you said very boldly, and I'm glad that you did, that everybody has this potential. Not everybody chooses to use it. And why I love that is because we actually, for 2 reasons. One, bold, and it kind of gives people a swift kick in the shin. Like, it's not just me because I'm special. You have this too. And so it's a self-responsibility. It's a call for self-responsibility, right? But then also, you don't have to wait until something really bad happens to discover your potential. And I think that's a message for everybody, to always be curious and insightful about what you have in you as a powerful force. This was an amazing talk. I'm so glad that we did this. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I want everyone to know that I'm on this serious mission. Like I said, I faced death and I came back on a mission, and my mission is, I have a live workshop that I traveled all over the world teaching, internationally as well as nationally, but I went online, and my goal in life is I want every single person to have the same abilities I do and to be able to take care of their family regardless of what's going on. And so I teach this therapy, this technique that I created and discovered. And my goal is, before I pass, I'm 64 now, but before I pass, I want every human being in the world to be able to do this, because you deserve to have a better quality of life naturally.
That is the stake in the ground, and I will do what I can to make sure that happens. Let's talk afterwards, and maybe we can open this up to more communities. This is incredible, Susan. How can people get in touch with you? I know that we have the restoreforlife.com right there on the screen, But is there a different way that you prefer to be reached? And what do you have going on right now that people should know about?
I have the online workshops, which is new, and that will continue. We're all masked in them right now because I made it during COVID, but I'm going to keep improving on that. You can call me. I've had conversations with people literally all over the world, and I am, can I put it? This is not a business. It was never meant as a business. It is a business. It supports me in my abilities to travel and to help people. But the reality is this is my passion, and there's more than me in the world, and there's us. And I feel that, so I have conversations with people all the time. I do the conversations on the phone, and I encourage people to check out my website. And that's probably, you'll get my phone number on that. You'll get to see the people, some of the people. I don't put many testimonials because of HIPAA laws. But I have, a dozen or so testimonials up there, and you're going to get to find out more what I'm doing. And feel free to call me. And that's also a very good option besides the website.
Thank you. And where can they find your phone number?
On my website.
Okay, great. Perfect. Well, this concludes an incredible, incredible conversation. Thank you for being here with me today, Susan.
Oh, I am so happy that you invited me. And I think the world of you. You're an incredible therapist.
Thank you.
And a humanitarian.
Thank you so much. We'll speak soon.
Have a good day.